Good morning, Year 2, and Happy New Year. Although this might not be how we wanted to start our new year together, and certainly our first reading lesson, we hope that this is the next best thing. Firstly, a huge thank you from all of us for all of your kind cards, wishes and presents over Christmas. We really are very grateful and you made us feel very special. So, on to our first reading lesson of 2021. So today we're going to start looking at our new class text. And we knew how much you enjoyed The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, so we knew that our new text had to be something special. Now, I know they said don't judge a book by its cover, but it made me think about how important the cover of a book really is. When we're having a good look to choose our next book, that's our first port of call, the first thing that we look at. What we decide about a book from its front cover makes us decide whether we're going to choose it or not, whether we like it or not. It gives us a clue as to whether it's fiction, non-fiction, and we very quickly make a bit of a prediction about what's going to happen in that story and whether we'll like it or not. So, what do we mean by a prediction? Well, what we mean is using the picture, the title, all the clues we can see to make a really good guess about what we think is going to happen. So, before we start reading, I would like you to make a prediction. You're going to use the words that we use in our guided reason sessions, in our classrooms. I predict or I think, and then use that conjunction because. Time for your turn. Have a look at the next 3 pictures. Pause on each picture and make a prediction about what you think might be about to happen. Okay, time for a quick check. So hopefully you came up with something like, I predict that it's going to rain or there's going to be a storm because the clouds are black and they look quite angry to me. In the second picture, being that super reading detective, you might have spotted that banana skin on the floor and the fact that the man isn't looking where he's going and say, I predict the man is going to slip because he's not looking where he's going. And finally, because we know that cats are like birds, we might predict that the cat is about to jump towards that cage. Okay, I'm about to reveal the front cover of our new book. This is what I would like you to do. Have a good look for those clues, look at the title, look in all the pictures, and come up with your prediction. What do you think will happen? Who are the main characters? Where will they go? What's the story about? Chilly Challenge 1 is to tell someone your prediction about our new book. Think about what you can see and what you think will happen. Chilly Challenge 2, be as creative as you are in your reading journals. Can you write a prediction about the story? Use pictures to illustrate what you think will happen. Chilly Challenge 3, I predict the bear and the boy's journey will be calm and quiet. Is this a good prediction? Can you explain your answer? Right, time to have a look. Pause the video here, have a good look and make your predictions. So now that you've made your prediction, let's start reading our new book to see if we were right. A Boy and a Bear in a Boat by Dave Shelton. Chapter 1, Stepping Aboard. Welcome aboard, said the bear, standing and turning to face the boy. He'd been holding the boat steady as the boy got in. Now he released his grip on the wooden jetty and pushed them out into the water, and the boy felt an unsteadiness beneath his feet. Hello, said the boy. The rolling of the boat put a tremble in his voice. Where to? Said the bear. The boy wobbled back to the rear seat, concentrating as the hull rolled and bounced beneath him. He half sat and half fell onto the hard wooden bench, bashing his wrist painfully against the edge as he landed. Ow, he said. Just over to the other side, please. He waved his unbashed hand vaguely out across the water without looking up. Right you are, said the bear. The boy stowed his bag beneath his seat. He found a gap in the jumble of junk already taking up most of the space there, and then pushed quite hard to persuade the bag into place. There was a small crunching noise. The boy looked up guiltily towards the bear, but it seemed he hadn't heard. He was sitting on the front seat, fitting the oars into place. He dipped the blade of one oar into the water and pulled on it briefly, turning the boat to face away from the jetty. The boy felt the boat wobble and then settle, and the insides of his stomach did the same. The bear took a look over his shoulder and squinted into the distance. He made a small, low noise. Then he reached forward, dropped the blades of the oar into the water and pulled back on the handles in a long, easy movement, setting the boat into motion. "Away we go," he said. "Will it take long?" said the boy. "A little while," said the bear. Away from the shade of the jetty, they were in the full glare of the sun, and the boy felt itchily hot. He took off his coat and scrunched it up on the seat beside him. He looked at the bear. He was a big bear, and the boat was only a small boat. When he leaned forward at the start of each stroke, it was as if he was lunging towards the boy, reaching out to grab him. And the boat pitched and rolled and bounced as if the world had become unfixed. It was a little unnerving. He would be glad to get where he was going, back on firm ground again. He looked past the bear, out over the water ahead of them. "You can't even see it from here, can you?" he said. "I thought you'd be able to see it." "No, it's quite a way," said the bear. The boy leaned back and raised his face towards the sun. He closed his eyes and played with the colours of the darkness he could see by pressing his eyelids more or less tightly together. He liked the greeny blue the best, but it was difficult to hold on to for too long. He yawned and lolled his head forwards, and his eyes fell open again. He watched the bear. It was a reassuring sight. He rode as if he were the most natural movement he could make, as natural as walking or breathing even. He had a steady, casual rhythm and seemed to be making almost no effort at all, but the boat sped along just the same. The boy closed his eyes again and listened to the rhythm of the oars. Splish, splish, splish. It was rather calming, and the boat was only gently rocking now, soothing rather than unsettling him. He leaned out over the side of the boat and looked down at the water, watching through half-closed eyes at the dancing patterns of the sunlit ripples. Then he trailed a hand in the water and made patterns of his own. The water was cold, but pleasingly so. He pulled his hand back inside the boat and yawned again. Without realising it, he'd pulled his legs up onto the seat so that he was lying on it, curled up to fit the space. The sunlight on the water was too bright for comfort, so he moved his head back inside the boat, resting it on his bunched-up coat. He looked at the weave of the fabric, picked out in detail by the sunlight. He felt the warmth of the sun on his skin. He listened to the oars, steady as a heartbeat, and the gently lapping waves. He felt the sway of the boat beneath him, rocking like a cradle. He closed his eyes. Well, I don't think any of us could have predicted that our story would begin with one of our main characters falling asleep. Never mind. Anyway, let's keep reading chapter 2 and see what happens next. Chapter 2, Unforeseeable Anomalies. When the boy opened his eyes again, he couldn't think for a moment where he was. But then the faint taste of salt on his lips, the smell of damp fur, and the sound of oars dipping into the water, splish, 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 all helped to remind him. And then his bleary eyes focused and he saw the bear. Oh, yes. He sat up, shrugging off a tatty blanket that had been draped over him, and blinked hard twice. Then he looked past the bear. There was still no sign of land ahead of them, but there was no sign of the land they'd set out from behind them either. In fact, in every direction, all he could see was sea and sky. He looked at his watch, but it showed exactly the same time now as it had when they'd set off. He held it to his ear, but it was silent. "It's stopped," he said sleepily. The bear looked at him as if noticing him for the first time. "Good morning," said the bear. The boy stared at him with wide-awake eyes. "What?" he said. "Good morning," said the bear again, a little puzzled. "Morning," said the boy. "Yes," said the bear. "It's morning," said the boy. "Yes," said the bear. "So it's tomorrow," said the boy. The bear considered this. "Well, no," he said. "Obviously, it can't be tomorrow, can it? It's today. It's always today, isn't it? But yes, it is the today that was tomorrow yesterday, if you see what I mean." "So I slept all night," said the boy. "I thought I'd just had a nap." "Oh no," said the bear. "You were asleep for hours." "But," said the boy, frowning, "doesn't that mean we should be there by now? I mean, I know you said it would take a little while, but I thought you meant an hour or so, not all night. So shouldn't we be there, or at least be able to see it by now?" "Oh, I see what you mean," said the bear. "Well, yes, normally we would have arrived by now, but unfortunately there were unforeseeable anomalies in the currents, and we had to adjust our course a bit. So now we're running a little behind schedule. Sorry." "Oh, I see," said the boy. He didn't see at all. "But are we nearly there?" "Not really, no." The boy's face fell. "But everything is in hand," said the bear. "Don't worry." The bear stopped rowing, pulled in the oars and, with a little difficulty, took out from under his seat a large, battered suitcase. He opened it up and took out a folded-up piece of old yellowed paper. He rather clumsily unfolded it and then held it in front of him as if he were reading a large newspaper. The side that the boy could see was unmarked, except for a few smears of dirt and a squashed bug, but one corner had flopped over so that the boy could see just a little of what was printed on the other side. There was a corner of blue with a grid marked over it and numbers along the edges. So at least the bear had a map. That was reassuring. The bear examined the map closely. In fact, the boy could see, from his side, a bump in the paper where the bear's nose was pressed against it. The bump moved about a bit and the bear hummed and mumbled to himself. Then the bear folded up the map, which took him 3 attempts, put it back in the case and took out a telescope. He put it to his eye and looked out across the sea ahead of them, and hummed and mumbled some more. Then he put the telescope away and, with a little more difficulty than it had taken to get it out, put the case back beneath his seat. "Is everything all right?" said the boy. The bear shook off a slight frown and turned a smile in the boy's direction. "Oh, yes," he said, "absolutely tickety-boo." The boy assumed that tickety-boo was a good thing. "Just need to keep an eye on where we are. Don't want to run into any sea monsters, do we?" said the bear. The boy was a bit alarmed by this until he realised that the bear was joking. At least, he was fairly sure he was joking, though he chose not to ask. "And are we nearly there yet?" said the boy. "We're well on our way," said the bear. The boy shivered and picked up his coat. "By the way," said the bear, "did you happen to bring any food with you?"